Hello and welcome to a deep diving conversation with Kahreela An-Ra, why you aren't manifesting what you want. Kahreela is an internationally recognized channel and alchemist healer. She is the creator of the BODYLOVE process and has helped many people across the globe manifest real life change. Through her company, Starlight-Temple, Kahreela offers courses, ceremonies, and sacred travel adventures that help people awaken to the divine conversation of their lives so they can align, live magically, and fulfill their highest purposes. Welcome, Kahreela. So lovely to have you here.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so happy and honored to be part of this conversation with you. I love it whenever we connect. It's amazing.
We're going to make some magic in this conversation. So if you are listening in, tap into the energy that is flowing through this conversation, because we are going to be diving into some really powerful pieces around manifestation. And there is some science, some mechanics, some magical pieces that we are going to be revealing to you today. One of the really interesting things that Kahreela and I were talking about that inspired me to invite her to interview her today was around manifestation and why people aren't manifesting what they want in their physical reality, even though they've done tons and tons of work on themselves, tons and tons of energy work, tons and tons of processes, tons and tons of courses, and have actually, created a lot of change, perhaps, maybe gone on profound healing journeys or really developed spiritually or developed psychically. And there can still be a lot of amazing things going on in the energy world or emotionally or spiritually, but there's still this block when it comes to manifesting in their physical reality. So if you are listening, I'm curious if you resonate with this. And we thought it'd be really important to have a conversation about why this is happening. So Kahreela, what have you noticed in your many years of experience around manifestation?
So that that manifestation is sometimes a long game, hey? I think that's the first thing to say is that yes, there is instant manifestation in terms of car being able to park your car and stuff like that, but actually the truest form of manifestation is a becoming process. You have to become the one that can magnetize and create the reality that you're calling in. And sometimes that takes some time and some steps and some stages. And for me, for a long time, I was all about the shadow, and I was all about like the key to this is doing the shadow work. And it is one of the big keys, doing shadow work for sure. Like excavating the beliefs and the consciousness that are manifesting the things in your reality that um aren't aligned with what you want, like that my path was dedicated to that for about 8 years, and there were incredible and amazing results and things with that for sure. um but what I found towards the end of it was that as I became more fluent in shadow and medicine and healing work, my reality wasn't shifting as fast as my energy body was. I don't know if you resonate with that, but like like I became fluent in shadow work, so I could go in, find what I needed to excavate, clear it out, and be liberated from it on an emotional level, on a belief system level. And yet my physical reality wasn't then matching up to that because of how fluent I'd become at shifting it on the energetic level. Does that make sense?
Yes, I mean, that's been the same experience for me as well. So 100%. Yeah, like lots of powerful, big, huge shifts happening spiritually, psychologically, energetically that like you said, does create change and does have an impact. But I found there was still places in my physical reality that were still stuck and not moving. And there was a real mismatch I found between my inner world and my physical reality. And
Yeah,
so,
I mean, the distance between the kind of levels of magic and abundance that I was experiencing in my spiritual world and my physical reality was just becoming further and further apart, you know? Like the more inner work I was doing, the further away in a way my physical reality, I was almost becoming really frustrated and deflated actually with the work not showing up at the level I wanted it to in the physical, in the everyday, in my reality, you know? And I felt quite, yeah, I felt like I was doing all of this work and like I was revving my engine stuck in the mud, you know? It was like it was just costing me energy and it was doing amazing things for my energetic body, but the thing that I actually wanted to change wasn't changing.
yeah.
Or it was changing, but it was changing at like not at the level that my energetic emotional self was changing. So it wasn't matching, it wasn't satisfied, you know?
Yes, I do. I know very well.
I'm glad you know. It's really nice that you're resonating. Um, and as so I'm a channel, as you know. And so I work with guides. And one day my guides were just like, do you know why this is happening? Why your like distances are so big between your energetic and your physical reality? Why it's not changing as fast as you want it to change? It's because you haven't done the work in the body. You haven't done the work in the habitual consciousness. And in they were specific, they were like, within the rituals of the body, is what they said.
Ooh. Can you tell us what that means when you're talking about when your guys are talking about the rituals of the body?
So the rituals of the body are the daily ways in which we live from this school, from this point of view. And they are eating, beauty, and how you dress and how you present, exercise, and rest. And, you know, the body is kind of like the place where all of our different aspects meet. It's like the meeting point of everything we are from shadow to soul, you know? And the body isn't the shadow, it's the habitual consciousness. So it can have shadow and soul and all sorts of information within it, but it's essentially who we are habitually.
When you
And
when you say habitual consciousness, and who we are habitually, can you elaborate on that a little bit?
so the rituals are a really good example. So when we eat, sometimes we eat in a very present way and we're very mindful and we're making conscious choice and everything like that. But also we can be very, very unconscious in the way that we eat and very habitual in the way that we eat. You know, our body is made essentially through repetition. So what is alive within our body is what we have repeated the most.
Mm.
And that repetition, it's like a lull. It's not the deep shadow in the sense it's completely unconscious. It's like the space between the consciousness and the shadow. And that is where it tends to be our comfort zone, you know, like it tends to be the place that we are, yeah, like who we are when we're not being fully conscious or fully unconscious, I
Mm,
guess is the best description. And the thing is that is where a lot of things can hide out. So you can have done the deep shadow trauma release medicine work, and that's had an amazing effect on your energetic body and an amazing effect on your vibrational body, an amazing effect on your spiritual body, all of that. And yet your ritual of eating can still be running the habit of that old trauma story,
mm,
because you haven't brought consciousness to the habit.
right. So I'm hearing some people going, yeah, but I eat well and I go to yoga and
Yeah.
I put clothes on my body. And so why am I not manifesting? What's she talking about?
Because, so firstly, with body love, it's actually, funnily enough, it is not about doing what is prescribed as healthy.
Mm,
It is about being true. And so, you know, you can you can be eating well on paper. It doesn't mean you're actually listening to what in body love is called your sacred hunger. You know, what is called the soul choosing for you, and the self fully engaged with what is right for you to eat. And it's also not just about the what, it's about how you're speaking to your, you know, in terms of the rituals, there is so much detail in the body that it can be about how you're speaking to yourself, how you are, it's about how you're loving yourself,
mm,
essentially. And that comes through the inner voice, the presence, the time. You know, there are many, many ways that you can go into any single one of these rituals. And every time I've held space for body love, it is amazing, because the people that come to body love, they are already pro at their work and their inner work. Like they are master shadow, like they are people that know how to work with themselves and their trauma. And yet, and you know, I class myself as one of those people. And yet you think you've done it, and then you're like, oh wow. Like when you actually look at what you're doing habitually, you're like, there is that neglect, or there is that abuse, or there is that time I was bullied. You know, like the body really does hold the score.
mm,
And the thing is these rituals are the rituals of life. And so if you are doing them within the rituals, you are doing them everywhere else. Like if they are alive within those rituals, which they won't be all the time, because there will be times where you are making truly conscious aligned choice, and then there will be times when you're not.
mm,
And it's the times when you're not that you are keeping those stories and that score and that old patterning alive.
mm.
And it's that that is backing up and blocking the next level reality that the energetic body is trying to call in.
Wow.
And the other work is trying to call in. It's like you haven't made the space in the habitual consciousness, in the
Wow.
soul.
I've definitely had this experience, right? What you're talking about, where my joke is I was like the healthiest, no, the most unhealthy, healthy person. Because there was a time where I was like a wheat-free, sugar-free vegan, and I was like exercising. I was like, I'm so vegan and wheat-free and sugar-free. And like I was really like really rigid about it and not drinking alcohol. And there was like, and I was in my 20s and it was really but there was this rigidity about it, and it was very rule based. And it was actually what I didn't realize, I'd transitioned from like eating disorders into veganism, and it was another way to kind of control and self-punish and deny. And yes, it was right, because I was having huge gut health problems, and I was feeling terrible in my physical body. So I was like, I'm doing the right thing, like eating the right way for my body, but I was not in a good place in myself at all. And so the way I was doing it wasn't good. And then I got pregnant, and I started craving meat. And then when I found out I was pregnant, I'm like, okay, I'm gonna feed this baby what she wants. It was like really strong. And then what I noticed was, and I started doing visualization when I was pregnant around like actually wanting around my body. And because there was so many ideas around, what happens, you have a baby and like your body goes to shit, and like, and I was like, no, I'm going to really visualize. So I was visualizing myself like really healthy, looking great after I gave birth and all of that. And then when I had my daughter, I actually stopped all the rules, and I just started listening to my body, and I actually was eating cake every day. And then I was about a stone lighter. About a year after giving birth to her, I was a stone lighter, and I looked better and felt better than I'd ever felt in all my, you know, healthy, unhealthy ways. So is that kind of what you're talking about?
Absolutely. Like it's not that in body love there's no prescription. So
Mm,
so the journey with body love is to just meet yourself and
mm,
meet your score. Because the thing is, if you are eating something healthy but doing it from like we work a little archetypally sometimes in body loving, it's like if your inner torturer is the one that is making you eat the broccoli, then the
mm,
broccoli is not, it's not gonna be good for you because it's not coming through the right place.
right.
Like these rituals, and this is why body love is so profound, is that, you know, there are ways that adults can love themselves. And actually, a lot of us that are walking this kind of path, we're very good at adult self-care. We go to spas, we do the cacao and the affirmation, and we're very good at soul love.
Mm,
The way your inner child is loved is not that. Your inner child needs to be intuitively fed
mm,
and be dressed in a way that honors who they are, and definitely needs to be rested when they're tired. And so all of the unlovedness of our inner child experience tends to hang out in these rituals.
mm,
And it goes deep. It's so funny you mentioned pregnancy. Like one of the things we journeyed with last body love was like how much when you're in the womb you get your first relationship with food is the relationship the mother is having with food and her body changing,
mm.
and how that impacts your relationship with food. So it does go deep into the shadows and the things like that. um but these rituals, they also they teach. So food is your relationship with more. So every time we eat, we are saying yes to a few more hours of life. Like, that's just fact. Yeah. And so if we, whatever we're putting into that is then affecting how we let more into our lives in other areas. Does that make sense?
So
Like,
I'm thinking of two examples. One is like where we go into like being someone that tried to starve myself, so denying food, right? But then I'm also thinking about the opposite, which I've also done, is binge eating and kind of overeating.
yeah,
So is that different than if you're, because that's more, I'm eating more and more, but I'm eating to actually not feel
that is eating to fill a hole,
right.
not to like your sacred hunger and all of the rituals are different, but your sacred hunger, which is where this conversation has gone, is always going to lead to you becoming more alive.
Mm.
And sometimes that will be like at the time your body just needed a load of cake, hey? But because you were just listening, and just being true to you, that didn't become weight. It didn't become like, if it's kind of like letting the goddess lead, I guess you could say. It's like letting the animal self or the nature self decide what is right for you without the noise of without the noise of all of the other parts of you that want to eat.
Right.
And those other parts, they are archetypes of stories that, especially with food, are keeping alive.
Mm.
So you're doing all of this shadow work to stop those things from being alive. And yet still eating them. You're still eating them into existence. That's why when you change it in the body, things can actually manifest in the physical much quicker.
It's so interesting. That's really, really interesting. And I guess the challenge is understanding what is leading you and what's running you from where, right? Because it's, I guess, not what you're eating, it's how you're eating, or from the place in which you're eating. And so, and I imagine a lot of this is in a blind spot. Is that why it's so hard? Why we don't understand, like, I'm doing all this work and things aren't still manifesting? Is it, what's the challenge of this? Is it because we can't see it? We can't access it?
It's in a blind spot. It's
Mm.
in the blind spot of the habitual. So you don't even notice. It's so much a part of you. So you you don't even notice that you're doing it
Mm.
until you take the time and have the holding and the support to be able to see that you are doing this stuff, because the habitual, you know the best example I can give in a way is when we did Body Love last year. Body Love is a long process because you spend 21 days in the field of each one. So we did it solstice to equinox. And when it was guided, like, I had so much going on. I was going to America, I was working festivals. I was just like, I cannot run this right now. Like, I have so much going on. And my guides were like, this is exactly when you need to run this, because this, when you're busy like this, that's when you drop the ball.
Mm.
That's when you stop X. That's when you go back to the old habits.
Right.
Like when you're like, everybody eats well on retreat. Like, it's when you're like rushing around, or
Mm.
you're super busy, or you're super overwhelmed, or you're trying to birth a new thing, or like when you don't have time for self, that is when you're gonna run those old habits. And so you're not gonna see them because you're too busy. Do you see what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
and that's when you run them, and that's when you're keeping the old vibration and the old life force levels alive, because you're running those old patterns.
Mm.
You're not just running them, these are the rituals that sustain life. So whatever you're doing in those rituals, you're sustaining in your vibration.
And that's what we're eating,
Mm-hmm.
exercise,
Mm-hmm.
beauty, and rest.
And so from the, I think it's just really worth saying is that food is your relationship with more.
Mm.
And the amazing thing about the habitual is once you've seen it there on the micro level, then you see it everywhere. Then you're like, oh yeah, I'm not just doing this here, I'm doing this in all my relationships, I'm doing this in the way I manifest. Like, then you realize that it's a pattern that you've kept alive. And so food will show you everything you need to know about your relationship with more.
Mm.
Beauty, which for me personally was the hardest one of the four when we ran it last year, is about how you hold your energy.
Mm.
And exercise is about how you believe in yourself or have faith in your future, because exercise is about going past your edge. And then rest is about how you accept yourself. And so these rituals, they show you how you are treating yourself and how you are receiving life.
So if we are not manifesting what we want in our physical reality, that will be a sign that one of these areas needs
All of
some
it.
love.
Like you cannot not get something from diving with any of them. Like this is the score. Like no matter how good you are at these things, you can always improve at like it's the score. So
Mm.
it's the score of where you are right now. If you want to go to a next level, you've got to change the score at this level.
Wow. Amazing.
Like there is no limit to this in any direction. But for example, if you so I say beauty was a hard one for me because the truth is I'm not very good at holding my energy.
Hmm.
And
You're
so
very good at holding energy. You're a very, very powerful space holder, right? For events. But is there a difference between holding energy for others and events versus holding yourself?
I mean, how many people resonate with that? And then if you want to bring that into beauty, how often do the powerful space holders look better when they are showing up to space hold than when they are showing up for a day with themselves?
I put my hand up to that.
You know, and
Yeah.
this isn't about what is prescribed as beauty. Beauty is about, are you feeling beautiful? But I would definitely turn up to an event looking beautiful and feeling beautiful. And then when I'm having a day by myself, I I can be wearing clothes that are like stained, like really like not putting the same level of holding in.
Oh my goodness, I do that.
Ah, this is where it gets really interesting because so the one that you do, that distance, that is the distance between your potential and what you're calling in and your physical reality right now. So like closing the gap is how you bring that reality into this reality.
Mm.
And it is to do with life force in the sense that you understand this with the amazing work you do, that like in order to bring in the next level, you, especially beauty, you have to be able to hold a higher level of energy.
Mhm.
But we have a like habitual level of energy that we hold, and then we have our show up as a space holder level. you know
Yes, I
and
do.
the habitual level is created and sustained by what you're doing habitually in the life force, in the body love rituals. So if you change the body love rituals, you are going to raise your habitual level of life force energy, therefore making your habitual reality a higher vibration.
Mm, so freaking cool. And what's so interesting about this isn't actually about giving out, is it? It's very much about taking care of yourself in a very new and deep and rich way. That's what's super interesting, because I think a lot of people who are, space holders and doing all this work love to give to everyone else, but there's like this kind of self-neglect that can creep in. So that's really interesting.
I mean, not, what I find amazing is that, like, for, there's so many rituals that I saw in myself. One of them, I'm like, I've always been someone that's prided herself on eating when she wants to eat.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, like, living with the clock of my body. That's what my head and my Instagram personality thought was going on. When I actually looked at it, I was like, okay, sometimes you're eating, other times you are just neglecting yourself because you think you've got more important things and it's okay to skip breakfast. And so, like, and this is a harsh thing to have to face when you are so dedicated to self-care and self-work and all of these things, because you know if you are not skipping a meal because you're not hungry, but you're skipping it because you're too full of cortisol and adrenaline and busyness and stuff, that is neglect. Like, that is your own neglect towards yourself playing out,
Mm-mm.
you know and how can you hold space for the next level if you're still neglecting yourself at breakfast?
Mm.
And what I like to do with body love is always translate it back. Like, if this was a child and you were a parent, is it okay? Like, would you be called in about the care level? There isn't this incense burning, beautiful way of doing care, affirmate, but, like, sometimes we can be very good at that,
Mm.
and yet we're still neglecting and abusing ourselves on a body love level.
Mm. Wow, Kahreela, it's super deep and profound. And again, all these beautiful blind spots. And it may be even harder for those that have done so much work on themselves. Like, I know all this and I've learned this and I do that. And it's almost maybe even harder sometimes to be really honest about where this is showing up. So this is a beautiful, deep, rich body of work, Body Love. And you've got a special event for anyone who's wanting to dive in a little bit deeper with Kahreela and step into this field, this beautiful energy that is Body Love. You've got an upcoming masterclass, an upcoming free event. Where you're going to be diving deeper into this. Obviously, we could talk for hours about this, but can you tell us a little bit about this masterclass for anyone who wants to dive into this work a little bit deeper with you?
So first, I will say thank you for saying that it is hard. Like, yeah, it is hard, but I don't really believe that the habitual level is for anybody that hasn't already done the shadow work. Like the habitual's not gonna change if you haven't done the deep energetic shadow work. Like, you got to start there. You
Right.
know, it's like you gotta have done that work. Otherwise, you're gonna try and change it on the habitual level, and the shadow's gonna pull you right back in.
Okay.
So it's not you're listening to this because you have done the work. That means you are now ready to hear this next level, and that is really important, I think, for most people that are like going, oh, I've missed. You haven't missed it. It's coming to you because it's the right time, because you've
Mm.
done the work. Um, and what is amazing about Body Love is it, it's field work, which is very similar to what you do, actually, in the sense that, yes, there's wisdom in it, but this is so intimate and so personal that actually you got to be in the energy of the field that can show you what you need to see. Because no body score is like anybody else's. And so you've got to be in a field that is going to help you reveal what is in your way of your next level. And so the workshop that I have coming up online, webinar, free, and it's about always an opportunity to be in the field and meet yourself within the rituals. One of them will happen in the moment depending on who's there, because the field serves who's there. And this one, it's also about how you can, there's two ways you can go. You can either go deep and do the healing work, or you can change the rituals to support your manifestations. And so this one is about like what you need to change in order to align or manifest vibrationally, life force wise, with the next level that you want to bring in. And so that's happening. And then next month, because actually once you go into this, you're like, I need to spend longer than an hour and a half. So next month we've got 4 days in the field experience as well, that is called Reveal, that is by donation. And that's the way. The big body love journey is only gonna be for the people that are ready for it. Like, I have never, of all the fields I've ever held, I have never, ever, ever known a field to throw people out of it at the rate that body love field is. Like, if you are not ready, you are not coming in on this big ride. And so if you want to find out if you're ready, or if you want to do the big journey, you've got to come into the earlier fields so that you can be attuned to it, basically.
Get yourself ready. Well,
Mm.
absolutely amazing. And I can't wait, because I am definitely there. Can't wait to dive in deeper into this work. It's absolutely beautiful. And thank you so much for sharing all your body love wisdom with us, and just a little sneak peek into this much deeper, richer body of work. And let's get manifesting all that we want and desire, all that's aligned into our physical realities. Very, very excited. And thank you so much. So the link to join the webinar is below this video, and the link to the deeper 4-day immersion is also below this video. And if you want to reach out to Kahreela with any questions, visit her website, and please comment below this video and let us know, what is your number one takeaway from this conversation? What is landing for you? What is popping for you? We'd really love to hear how you found this conversation. And we look forward to being with you very soon for the upcoming webinar. And thank you so much, Kahreela. Thank you so much for being with us and sharing with us today.
And thank you for your amazing, amazing work. I am so grateful for it, and so grateful for your path and who you are. It's amazing.
Thank you, darling.